session discussing items on conflict of district designated labor negotiations, public employee discipline, and an update on negotiations
Point of
with
order.
USDA.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
I'll do my best. Thank you. And with that, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Conover, could you lead us today?
Ready? Begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let the roll call indicate that all members are present either in person or by telephone. And is there a motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting of October 3rd?
So moved.
4th. Was that date? Yes, that's correct. So moved by Ms. Conover. Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
By Ms. Porras. Any discussion? A correction? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back this up. Let me back this one up, folks, because I do see the minutes, because while we were at closed session, understood the minutes, we still want to have a final approval on those. So we will let this one pass as it is for NA, and we'll move on to the board meeting agenda. Is there a message or is there a motion to approve the agenda of tonight's meeting?
So moved, Wendy Jonathan.
And second by Wendy Jonathan. Any addenda to tonight's meeting?
None.
With that, call for the question. Preferential vote.
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And community and staff recognition.
Absolutely. I believe we have Ms. Mary Perry here this evening to assist with recognizing students, staff, community members. Mary Perry, our Public Information Officer.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be able to share this information with you. So I'd like to start off with a very special congratulations to our own Assistant Superintendent of Education and Technology Services, Kelly Mae Vollmer, EDD, for being named Educational Leader of the Year by SITE, the California IT in Education. And this annual program congratulates and celebrates SITE members, partners, and others for the work they do and the accomplishments they've made to the education community. And of course, for us, it's about the accomplishments you've brought to us and the wonderful celebration that we would love to have recognizing everything you do, Kelly, and there's so much. Do you want me to come over there or you want to come down here? So here's a certificate, a Golden Sands Award, recognizing you, and again, thanking you so much for everything you do.
Thank you so
I
much.
personally thank you for everything you do.
Well, thank you. I'll just briefly say I appreciate this and I appreciate the recognition, but honestly, there's no way that I could do the work that I do without the amazing team that I work with. I work with some of the most committed, dedicated, smart people, and I'm so grateful for all the directors and managers and all the members of Educational and Technology Services. In addition to that, a very, very supportive cabinet that makes my job a joy. But really with this award, I want to just give a shout out to the board and to Mr. Bailey as well, because it really has so much to do with our LTE network. And there's no way that we could have done that work if the board wasn't supportive and innovative and willing to take a risk, and it absolutely has paid off. So thank you as well.
I have one other staff member I'd like to recognize this evening. As you know, ACSA, the Association of California School Administrators, has announced their 2020 award recipients for our region covering the Coachella Valley. And I'd like to congratulate Ann Morales, who I know is watching, so hi, Ann. Ann has been named the Elementary School Principal of the Year, and as you know, she's principal of Amelia Earhart Elementary School. So yay, Ann. And then I have some student awards. So, you know, we have a lot of stars among us, and we often talk about the arts and how we encourage students and what we do when it comes to the arts. So the Desert Theater League recently announced this year's Desert Star Awards, and we had a bunch of winners. So first of all, Megan Noble was the choreographer for the John Glenn Middle School production of Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and she won in the youth category the best choreography. So congratulations, Megan. We had an outstanding lead actor in a comedy or drama to Andre Castro, Peter and the Starcatcher of Indio High School. So, and of course his principal, Mr. Lawson, is right here. We had an outstanding lead actress in a comedy or drama that went to Cassandra Catano for A Good Old-Fashioned Big Family Christmas at La Quinta High School. We had an outstanding lead actress in a musical, and that went to Valeria Sotomonte for Seven Brides for Seven Brothers at John Glenn. We had an outstanding supporting actor in a comedy or drama to Eduardo Dominguez, also Peter and the Starcatcher of Indio High School. We had an outstanding supporter male dancer in ballet to Bennett Creighton for the Nutcracker for the Starlight Dance Center, and Bennett goes to Palm Desert High School. We had an outstanding lead actor in a musical to Erasmo Blue Luna for Sister Act for the Green Room Theater Company. Blue is a student at La Quinta High School. We had an outstanding supporting actor in a musical to Enrique Beltran for Disney's Newsies for Desert Theater Works, and he's a student at John Glenn. We had an outstanding supporting female dancer in ballet to Riley Hart for her performance in the Nutcracker. And Riley was a student at Palm Desert Charter Middle. At that time, she's now a Palm Desert High School student. And finally, we had an outstanding juvenile in a ballet to Javier Brown Avila for his performance in the Nutcracker, and he's a student at Palm Desert Charter Middle. So congratulations to our stars. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to pass along a message to all of you from Sean Webb, our Director of Community Engagement and Foundation. As you know, he's behind the scenes, controlling some of the video. But Sean asked me to let you know that in the months of July, August, and September, we had over 280 nominations for the Incredibly Talented Awards. And the winners for the month of September are Carlos Silva in technology, and Kristen Hill, an instructional coach at Monroe Elementary. So thank you for your time. You know how much I love doing this. So thanks very much.
Right. Introduction of new or recently promoted employees. Mr. Bailey.
Actually defer to Dr. Salazar, who's approaching the podium.
And I'm almost here. All right. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce to you Karen Hernandez. She's the new assistant principal at Shadow Hills High School. Ms. Hernandez, you want to step forward? Not too close. That's perfect. No, it's 6 feet. We have to guess. Ms. Hernandez received her Bachelor of Science degree from La Sierra University, where she studied. I don't think you stuttered, just me. She studied business marketing. During her time there, she worked for RCOE as a behavioral instructional assistant, which launched, you know, I'm off my game because I'm not sitting up there. It's like I got to reorient my head here. So she worked as a behavioral instructional assistant, which launched the beginning of her passion for education. She pursued her teaching credential from the University of Redlands while working for Coachella Valley Unified School District as a substitute teacher to gain classroom experience, and was later hired as a math teacher in that district, where she had the opportunity to form part of the Common Core Trainer of Trainers team and piloted the initiative of integrating iPads in the classroom for her site. During her third year of teaching, Ms. Hernandez came to work for Desert Sands and also began pursuing both her master's degree in education, administration, and administrative credential. During her first year at Shadow Hills High, Karen restructured the after-school program for the math department, centering on a skills-based curriculum targeting essential standards needs. She has led the mathematics department at Shadow Hills for the past 5 years and has also led the district's Math 1 implementation team. Through her time at Shadow Hills High School, Ms. Hernandez has represented the Knights family through her work with the California Mathematics Council South Equity Committee, publications on transitioning to standards-based grading, and as a presenter at math conferences. One of Ms. Hernandez's biggest accomplishments to date was presenting at the California Math Council South's 60th annual conference, which is one of Southern California's largest mathematics conferences. Her passion for teaching and making a positive impact in students' lives has been the driving force behind her continuing efforts for positive changes in education. Ms. Hernandez, I wish to formally congratulate you on your appointment to the leadership team at Desert Sands. Congratulations. If you'd like to say a few words, you may.
Does it work? You can hear me? Yeah, perfect. I just want to say thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I look forward to working with our Knights family and just making things amazing for our students in the education system. Thank you.
Conover, anything you'd like to add for our new teacher at Shadow Hills, our new assistant principal?
Congratulations on your appointment. The Knights do it right, don't they? Congratulations.
Ms. Jonathan, care to add?
Wanted to say congratulations and no disrespect, Ms. Conover, but I'm glad you came to Desert Sands from Coachella. We're happy to have you. We're always happy to have talented staff from other districts realize that they need to be with Desert Sands. And so I want to congratulate you, and I'm so glad that you were able to find your home initially at Shadow Hills, and now you're there as a vice principal. I know you're going to do an incredible job, and congratulations.
Mr. Griffith?
Congratulations, best wishes. That's all.
And Ms. Porras?
Congratulations, Ms. Hernandez. I look forward to meeting you.
And I'd like to say, Ms. Hernandez, that we always appreciate stealing great talent from other school districts around us. And welcome aboard. I think you'll love Shadow Hills. They've got a great math department over there already for you to fill in with. And with all your math background, I hope to see you on Pi Day on March 14th again this next year. And Mr. Bailey, anything to add?
Welcome to the family. Your first test, the Knights do it. There you go, you passed.
Thank you very much. Public hearings tonight. We have a staff conference item from our Indio High School Associated Student Body Report, and something probably to add from Mr. Bailey.
I would just like to welcome Sergio, who's going to be spearheading the presentation regarding ASB at Indio High School this evening. Sergio, it's all yours.
Okay, so before we watch the video, I just have something short to say. So although this year we were not able to return to campus in a traditional way, we have still been committed to carrying on with our Raja traditions. We kicked off the new year with our annual first day of school pep rally, but with a twist. Please enjoy our virtual pep rally and see how we welcomed everyone back for the 2020-2021 school year.
You ready for a Raja rally? I'm ready for a Raja rally. Let's do it, Raja!
Good morning, Rajas. I'm Sergio Casarubias, your 2020 ASB Student Body President.
And I'm Oriana Castaneda Gutierrez, your 2020 ASB Vice President. Welcome to the Welcome Back Rajas Virtual Pep Rally.
We know this is different from our normal first day of school rally, but given our special circumstances, we are making lemonade from lemons.
Oh, I love lemonade.
Let's kick off this rally the only way we know how.
Way to start us off strong. Speaking of strong, we have leaders on campus that have kept our Roger home standing. Who's in the house? Who's in the house?
Administration's in the house.
Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paper boy, evening TV. Did I get delivered here? Somebody tell me, please. This whole world's confusing me. Clouds as mean as you've ever seen. Ain't a bird who knows you're true. Then a little voice inside you whispers, don't sell your dreams so soon. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a place of somebody who needs you.
I don't know about you, but I've been so bored at home.
Me too.
I do know that we aren't the only ones that have been bored and cooped up at home. Our Raja faculty has been bored and stuck at home too. Let's take a look at what they've been up to.
678 QUARANTINE quarantine said, won't you back up 6 feet? Gimme that quarantine. QUARANTINE quarantine said, won't you back up 6 feet? Gimme that quarantine.
Bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Bored in the house and I'm in the house bored. Drop the bass, play the bass, feel low. Drop the bass, play the bass, feel low.
Why don't you say so? You wanna say so?
Play out the light. Folks watch.
STAYHOME. Stay at home for society. STAYHOME. Or you gon' catch these hands and that's on me.
With this virtual pep rally, we wanted to make sure to welcome you back in a big way.
We reached out beyond our Indio High School campus to a larger community for help.
There are some very special people that want to welcome you back on your first day, Rajas. We hope you enjoy.
I had a dream, or was it real? We crossed the line and it was on. We crossed the line, it was on this time. I've been denying how I feel. You've been denying what you want. You want from me, talk to me, baby. I want some satisfaction. Take me to the stars, just like no more hesitations. This is on. Can't make it stop. Give me all you got. I want it all or nothing. No more in between now. Give your everything to me. Let's get real, baby. A chemical reaction.
Indio High School, what is up? Hey, PC here checking in from the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Just want to wish you all an amazing start to your school year. Chase your dreams, kids. Peace.
take me all the way. Take me to emotion. I want to go all the way. Show me devotion and take me all the way, all the way. Take me.
Welcome back, Rogers. Have a great first day.
Through the clouds, break the ceiling. I want it on the roof, you and me alone. I wanna cut to the feeling. Oh yeah, I wanna cut to the feeling. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanna play where you play with the angels. I wanna wake up with you and take a yeah. I wanna cut to the feeling. Oh yeah, I wanna cut to the feeling. Oh yeah, I wanna cut through the clouds, cut to the feeling. I wanna dance on the roof. Oh, oh, oh. I wanna cut to the feeling. I wanna cut to the feeling. I wanna cut to the feeling. I wanna cut to the feeling.
Thank you to those who sent in videos and took the time to make these awesome welcome back videos.
That's it for our virtual Welcome Back Rogers Rally. Thanks to everyone who helped make this possible. Appreciate you.
Every pep rally ends with our Raja battle cry. This rally is no different. We don't care where you are, who you are with, we want to hear you.
Have a great first day of school, Rogers. We can't wait to see you soon.
Job. Thank you, Sergio. That was very creative. Any other words?
Thank you all for watching. We had a blast making it, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Awesome. And I see we have Mr. Lawson, the school's principal, in the audience. Mr. Lawson, did you have any remarks? I'll put you on the spot.
I just want to say a quick thank you because our students wanted to embrace the use of technology and try to have as normal a year as possible. Not only did they do the virtual pep rally, but they put together, we still had senior sunrise. We did it virtually, and we recorded. Sergio recorded his speech. We recorded the sunrise. Our cafeteria staff helped us with a breakfast for a grab and go that they picked up the night before so that they'd have it. Kids watched virtually, took a picture of themselves, sent it in so we can put a collage in the yearbook so that all of them could watch the sunrise at home at the same time and chat with each other on electronically. So they put that together. They've put together Student of the Month virtually, and they've helped us all along the way. So I want to say thank you because everything that our tech staff has done to help us, to help the kids to be successful during this virtual time of closure has really made a huge difference. And so I want to say thank you for all of that. We're right in the middle of our WASC visit, so I'm going to zip out of here in a moment because I've got to go and meet with our chair tonight because tomorrow's the wrapping up of that. But I want to say thank you to the students. You saw a couple of students' names, Miguel and Alfredo, who were on there, and I have to give a shout out, not just to Mr. Buck and our impact program, but the kids in that program helped our teachers. And this year we decided we broadcast that we were going to do this, and then a couple of other schools got on board. Every single teacher, even those that were afraid of technology a year ago, every one of them recorded their back-to-school night videos. We posted them on our webpage so that parents could watch at leisure. And when I watched that, I was in awe at what the kids taught some of my staff to be able to do. So we've seen this dramatic growth, and I am so proud of what the kids have done. And just so that you know what kind of kids we have at Indio High School, all of our ASB and Renaissance kids led the charge and talked to the rest of the staff after our first 2 days of school, and they said, you know what, we don't like being at home and not being together, but our teachers are the same way. We want to encourage them, let's send them messages. And the first week of school, every day, every teacher got these random, unexpected, unsolicited emails from kids to encourage and push and inspire them to be their best. And so our kids, I cannot tell you what loving, wonderful, inspiring messages they were. And they have they are the best. So I wanted to share that with you, and thank you all for all of your support for what we're able to do at Indio High School.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. And there's no doubt that Sergio has represented the Rajas very well, and I would like to recognize his service on the board these last 2 meetings. So this is for you, Sergio.
And Sergio, on behalf of the board, congratulations on a nice video for you and your students to put it all together. And for Mr. Lawson, congratulations on some great moves for you and your staff. Those were quite nice. Thank you so very much. And best wishes for the rest of the year to get your students back on campus. Thank you, sir. We can move into no public hearings tonight. We'll have a discussion on the COVID-19 response update. Mr. Bailey.
Yes, this is a standing item, as you know. It's our chance to update the board and the community on all efforts responding to COVID. Today we received, as everyone did, the disappointing news that the county has reverted back into the purple tier 1 zone, so there are lots more restrictions, unfortunately. Basically, it's because of the case rate count in the current data. But we do remain hopeful that the Board of Education will be able to entertain options, however limited they are in the purple status, within the proposed reopening of schools timeline, which is agendized tonight as item 22.1. We've worked as cabinet to improve our return to school plan since the last meeting. As you recall, we received over 400 comments from the community, which was representative staff and parents, some students. We've taken all those comments and tried to build a better plan. So you'll hear from cabinet this evening what we've done to build that better plan. So with that, I'll first defer to Dr. Kelly Mae Vollmer, Education Services Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. As Mr. Bailey mentioned, we are back in purple, but even so, we wanted to provide an update to the board and the community on our planning process as it pertains to returning to school. And obviously, all of the updates and all of the things that I share this evening are based on current public health recommendations and change as those recommendations from public health change. There's definitely a few points of view that exist when we talk about returning to school, and we've heard a lot of those over the past few weeks. And some people are obviously concerned that students should be back in school because that's where they learn best. And so when you hear that logic and you listen to that argument, you think there's truth to that. That is where our students learn best. And then we also hear the voices of those that are concerned about safety and the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic, and you hear those voices and you think there's truth to that. And there are right parts of that as well. And so we have worked to find a solution that takes into account all the perspectives and really want the community and the board to know that we really have listened and tried to put that input into our plans. And so over the past couple of weeks, as well as the past couple of months, we've worked with people around Desert Sands, with teachers and principals and students and staff members to really address the concerns that we've heard from you over the past couple of weeks. So I want to address some of those this evening. We definitely heard concerns loud and clear about the proposed elementary hybrid schedule where students were only on campus for 4 hours a day. And so we have new proposed schedules that would extend the time that elementary students are on campus beyond that initial 4 hours. I also wanted to share some of the concerns and comments that came out of seeing that 4-hour educational block in an elementary schedule, and certainly, as I mentioned, a proposed schedule that would go even beyond 4 hours. It's not anyone's intention that students would be in their seats for a solid 4 hours or even beyond. We have amazing, amazing teachers in Desert Sands, and even if you have the ability to watch them on a Zoom session, they're putting in brain breaks and movement breaks, and obviously those things would be integrated into the classroom when we're able to come back into a hybrid model. We also heard some concerns about students losing their current teacher and the affiliation with their homeschool, and we've been working on plans to mitigate that disruption. We can't promise that there won't be any reassignments, but we are going to do our very, very best to keep school affiliation and to assign students to classes at their current school to the extent possible. The difficulty lies in the fact that a student may currently have a teacher that for medical reasons needs to remain a distance learning teacher. But if that student is going to participate in the hybrid model, then they can't retain that same teacher. And so as I mentioned, we're going to be working student by student to mitigate the disruptions as much as we possibly can. We've also heard concerns about courses such as IB courses, AP capstone courses, and CTE, our career technical education programs. And we want the community and the board to know that we have potential plans in place that we believe would allow students to remain in these programs, whether they're on the distance learning model or the hybrid model. We've also heard concerns about athletics and want everyone to know that there are plans in place for a safe return to conditioning when it's deemed that it's appropriate for conditioning to start. And I want to go into that just a little bit because we haven't talked about it very much over the past few weeks. So I would want the board and the community to know that any conditioning would be voluntary for students and for coaches. All conditioning would be conducted outside. Students would be placed in cohorts of 10 or less, and they would stay in these cohorts. Coaches would wear face coverings at all times, as would students, unless they're participating in vigorous physical activity. Students would need to leave immediately after practice, so there's no congregating and possible breaking of the social distancing. They'd also need to bring their own water, and there would be no sharing of equipment. And additionally, students would be screened every day prior to being allowed to participate in conditioning. Additionally, even though we've moved back to purple, we have currently our principals at all levels and staff members working on all the logistic pieces relating to the returning of school, so that when the board decides and when county health deems that it's safe to return, they will have all of these logistics worked out. So they're looking at things like ingress and egress, recess, lunch, what happens if a student gets ill. All of these plans are in place and they're in line with public health requirements, and we update them as those requirements from public health change. I also mentioned last time, and I want to just reiterate again, that we're putting the finishing touches on a registration document that we'll be sending out to families. It'll be very similar to the online registration process that you do at the beginning of the school year, with the exception that there will only be one question, and that will be whether or not you want your student to remain on distance learning. We know it's difficult, but we have to ask parents to choose now whether or not they'll want to remain on distance learning for the remainder of the year. Because there are plans that we needed to put into place. When we talk about, for example, if students are going to have lunch on campus, we need to know how many students we're talking about in order to know if we have room to accommodate that with the appropriate social distancing. So we need parents to make that decision and participate in that process. And we want parents to know that if they don't participate or fail to participate, we will be assigning students to that hybrid model unless we hear from them. And then last, I just want to state I've had the ability to go over the last couple of weeks to different school sites. And I just want to say how inspiring it is to see students and teachers and parents and principals and staff members that really have stepped up to make the most of a very difficult time. And it really is a difficult time. None of us chose to be in distance learning or in hybrid learning. No one woke up one day and said, this is a better way to do school. We are in this position because of COVID-19, and we know that the best plan would be a full return with no COVID concerns. But that plan's not available to us right now. But I truly do appreciate so much just all the efforts and the resilience and the perseverance and the creativity that I've seen as I've visited classrooms. And then just finally, I want to end on, this is National Principals Month, and so I want to thank all of our Desert Sands administrators for all the work that they do every single day. We really appreciate each and every one of them. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Vollmer. I'll move on down the line here to Laura Fisher, Assistant Superintendent, Student Support Services.
Hello, everyone. And as it's been shared and mentioned, we've received great input from our community and staff and students and parents, and really have appreciated talking and corresponding with many of you. And as Dr. Volman was sharing, in response to some of those concerns, I wanted to update you on a few items. The first one is face coverings. And we've listened to many concerns in regards to the requirement and the age that we would require those face coverings. So in discussion with the County Department of Health and researching with California Department of Public Health, the district will be requiring face coverings for pre-K through high school, with the approved exemptions, which include a child under 2, which we wouldn't have in our school, or if they have a medical or mental health condition or disability that would impede them from properly wearing or handling a mask, or when it would inhibit communication with a person who is hearing impaired. So also for our staff, we continue to require either a cloth face covering with a face shield, or a face shield with a drape, and that will be required for all staff. Also, in anticipation for our small group in-person instruction, starting with our students with moderate to severe disabilities, our plans are underway. We have had teachers responding with great schedules and planning from both the site administration and teacher collaboration. Individual sites have had the flexibility to develop plans to best meet the needs of their students and the site. We have increased the PPE for those staff, as we know many of those children with moderate severe disabilities would fall into those exemptions. And we also, again, as we've talked before, will start the surveillance testing for all staff. And I wanted to share with Dr. Vollmer, I've also had the opportunity to jump into some of our classes virtually, and I've got to say the teachers are doing an amazing job, from preschool to high school, with keeping our students engaged, and we know how important that is. And along with the health and safety, we also know of the mental health and safety for our students. And so we know how challenging this pandemic has been on so many people, adults and students in so many ways. So our mental health and counseling services through our mental health therapists, our school counselors, our school psychologists, and our district SAP counselors continue for our students, including referrals to outside agencies such as Care Solace, as appropriate. And I've always and they give us a dashboard, and I've seen the numbers as they increase for referrals for families. And those referrals can be for a variety of supports and services a family or a student may need. Please continue to reach out to your teachers, the counselors, administration at your site for counseling or support for your child. And I want to thank the staff and the parents for your continued support for your students and families. And as our county has moved back in the purple tier, let's all do our part with our face covering, social distance, and hand washing, and get that flu shot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Up next, Mr. Jordan Aquino, Assistant Superintendent, Business Services.
Good evening, Board. As you know, in business services, our job is to support the eventual return of students whenever that is deemed necessary and safe to do so. As you know, we have prepared for a possible return for our small groups and provided all those classrooms with HEPA filters. In addition to that, we are upgrading our air filtration, as we've mentioned in previous board meetings, to MERV 13. And have also on purchase or supply of MERV 11s in the event that we are subject to supply chain and demand where MERV 13 is not available. We have also made a move as of this week to purchase also ionizer air purifiers. Basically what that does is it attaches itself to the HVAC system and it emits an electrostatic charge to remove airborne pollutants, allergens, and other unwanted particles. So those are 3 different measures that we have implemented to improve the air quality in our classrooms. Those ionizers are going to be attached to every HVAC unit in the district. So we have the HEPA filters that are in areas where it's a lot more dense, more students, and those ionizers will be placed on every HVAC unit. Student desk screens, we've been working with our elementary school principals to provide student desk screens for our elementary grades K through 5, or pre-K through 5. And really, we've had to work with them because the desks and the flexible furniture at the schools all vary in different sizes, so one universal purchase was not going to work for that. Our meals distribution originally was going to end in, as far as free meals, the universal summer seamless option meals was going to end on December 30th. That has now been extended by the federal government, so we will be providing 7 days worth of meals all the way to the end of the school year. As far as the return to a potential hybrid and what that situation will look like, we've been working with our principals and our food services staff to make sure that we can provide both breakfast and lunch. All the hand sanitizer dispensers have been installed in every classroom that did not have a sink. So every classroom has hand sanitizer, and in those situations where we don't have a sink in the classroom, we've also provided mounted hand sanitizer dispensers, and that has been installed at every school that does not have one. Our water bottle filling stations, there's a couple schools outfitted with them now. We plan on doing at minimum 4 per school site, and so we plan to get all that done by the end of December. And that's all for my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aquino. We'll wrap it up with Dr. Donna Salazar, Personnel Services.
Good evening. I would like to let you know that the district continues to meet with DSDA on a memorandum of understanding regarding the effects of the hybrid instructional model, as well as the health and safety measures for the return of our small cohorts of high-needs students, and for the commencement of physical conditioning for our student athletes. Personnel has been working, as Dr. Kelly May Volmer noted earlier, with the teachers, principals, and education services on revising the original drafts of the hybrid schedules, keeping the suggestions we heard from parents and staff members earlier this month. And the district is scheduled to meet again tomorrow with DSTA to continue negotiating our MOU. Thank you.
Thank you for those updates from Cabinet. And again, with the current timeline that was proposed at the last board meeting, we're hoping the board, as permissible within the current health guidelines, can consider moving forward with some of those items. And I want to clarify, because this is a question that came up earlier today, that the return to small group instruction for the students in most need of acute care is not governed by the tier structure, so that is a permissible allowance under the current guidelines, and the same with the athletic conditioning for the board's consideration. Those are my remarks.
Mr. Bailey, thank you very much. At this time, we'll entertain public comment on open session items. And for this, I'll turn this over to Ms. Conover, who will list the names of folks who have submitted blue sheets. And following that, we have a number of folks that have written in or emailed comments to the board, and we will take up to 20 minutes for those. We will be pulling those at random out of our random box here, I guess. So, Ms. Conover, turn it over to you.
Yeah. Communications from the floor. In accordance with bylaws of the board number 9323, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items shall have a 3-minute limit and should include their intention at this time. In accordance with the law, decisions of the board cannot be made on any matter not previously published before the board meeting, as indicated in bylaws of the board number 9323.2. And I have Trina Gonzalez-Alisi, DSTA President.
Good evening, Cabinet and Board. There have been some comments that have been made recently about the quality of education that is being offered to our students in Desert Sands. And some people think that we have a lower quality than perhaps what our students deserve. And I would like to point out that at the Indio State of the City Awards ceremony yesterday, Desert Sands teachers were awarded with their community outreach to the students of Desert Sands. This is the acceptance speech that I prepared to receive that award on behalf of our fabulous teachers. The 1,350 plus Desert Sands educators are humbled to be recognized, and we are proud to accept this award from the City of Indio's Chamber of Commerce. This has been a very difficult experience for all of us, unlike any we have ever dealt with in our careers. When we made the decision to become a teacher, many of us at a very young age, lining up our stuffed animals to take attendance or forcing our siblings to be our students and pay attention to a lesson, we never in a million years expected to be teaching during a pandemic. However, our students are the focus of everything we do. Our students deserve to continue to receive a quality education. Our students are the reason we go above and beyond the call of duty. Our students will continue to get the best version of us that we have to offer. I have seen firsthand the amazingly innovative technological setups that educators have assembled in an effort to give the best experience possible to their students. As badly as parents and students wish we were back in the classroom, so do educators. We miss the hugs and high fives. We miss seeing a student's face light up when they begin to understand a concept. We miss hearing their laughter in the hallways and out on the playground. We will be back in the classroom as soon as it is safe for students and staff to do so. The present situation is not permanent. I look forward to the day when we can all return to normal. We thank the Indio Chamber of Commerce for recognizing the hard work that we do every day for the children of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Robert Pickowitz.
Thank you. My name is Robert Pickowitz. I'm a parent of a senior here at Shadow Hills. And the topic I wanted to talk about was what you had mentioned about allowing student athletes back on campus. It really is one of those things where that type of caliber student is used to being busy. And we know under the current state of COVID, it's very restricted. I have seen firsthand in my profession in law enforcement, kids who were as squared away as you can imagine are breaking down because they cannot socialize, interact, and be at that high level that they're used to. So I am very excited about the idea of that being considered in the future, the near future, hopefully. And I also would like to just talk about my experience in the last 5-6 months traveling to other states, seeing sports and other activities taking fold. It can be done right. It can be done with the proper restrictions in place, parents, coaches, faculty, all working together along with the student to make it safe. It can be done. It really can. I mean, we couldn't be here tonight if we didn't go through those same procedures. So it can be done, and it's really going to lay the groundwork for these students who can really look forward to the future. We have some amazing student athletes along with other students on campus, and I just would encourage that we can move forward with allowing students on campus. Desert Sands, I'm a product of Desert Sands. I've worked over the last 20 years as a coach within my professional law enforcement with Palm Desert, La Quinta, Indio, Shadow Hills. And if any district can make this happen, it's going to be Desert Sands. We have the weather that is going to allow year-round activities. And as we move into the fall, into the winter, getting out on the fields is really going to allow us that flexibility that those kids maybe back in other parts of the country are not going to be able to do. So again, I encourage that we can do that sooner than later. I know that just in being around Shadow Hills, the grounds maintenance have done a great job maintaining fields. The only thing that's missing is students and athletes. I recently went on campus, and it just was amazing to see how well everything looks. Again, we just need to put the students and the athletes out there and get back to a normal life. I realize that the tier is dropped down, but again, we've come a long way since day one, and we've learned a lot on how to treat it and how to move forward with our life. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Ursula Leguilo.
Good eve. Can you hear me? Good evening. I stand before you as an employee of the district as a paraeducator, and I would like to bring to your attention the essential work that paraeducators do to service our students and teachers. We are in the front line with the teachers working. On September 16, 2020, I learned that special education was not authorizing subs for paraeducators. I was very surprised to learn that I could not request a sub to cover my duties in assisting my students and teacher. I received no communication of this new practice. If communication was sent out, not all paraeducators received it. Before I knew of this new practice, I requested a sub who was familiar with my class, and I made sure that she knew how to use Zoom, and I gave her my resources to use in my breakout rooms. I was then told that special education was not authorizing subs for paraeducators. So I tried and contacted my supervisors like I have been told many times in the past. I emailed Laura Fisher and Dr. Hennings on September 16, 2020, with my concerns, and I received no reply. So then I emailed Mr. Bailey on September 17, 2020, and I still had no reply to my concerns. So I asked, what is the justification of not allowing paraeducators to utilize subs in our absence? There is only one paraeducator in my classroom, and when I'm absent, my students miss out on that individual support I give in my breakout rooms. Knowing that students will still be serviced when paraeducators are absent is a very important, vital component to us paraeducators. I hope by sharing these concerns, I will be allowed to request a sub for my upcoming week-long absence. As a dedicated employee of Desert Sands, I try to request somebody that is familiar with my students. So when paraeducators are absent, we need somebody to fill that role, and we should be allowed to have subs. Thank you.
Thank you. Darius Smith.
Good evening. In a quiet moment of anxiety and despair, a colleague of mine from the moderate severe program texted me after receiving the letter that we would be going back into the classroom. It said, "I'm being sent to my execution." For weeks, we've all been able to react, think, anticipate, fear, and feel with varying degrees of clarity and perspective. Science, emotion, passion, experts, there's a million voices to hear and to be heard, except mine. Mine is the little voice I want you to hear. Mine is the voice that says, I'm important, and though I'm just one, I deserve to choose how I live. I've endeavored to make the world better by teaching for 27 years, but suddenly my future is not my own. The district has decided my life isn't worth allowing me to decide my future any longer. I will be the sacrificial lamb. I will be sent into the unknown. And if I succumb, I will be replaced, and the world will keep turning. The school board and the school district have a task working for the good of our community and for the future of our community. Teachers are given the awesome responsibility of ensuring that future is taught, the future is taken care of, and when they're ready, the future is sent forward to make the world a better place. The Mod Severe teachers have accepted an extraordinary task in teaching young people with challenges, so we're no strangers to difficulties. Not one of my teacher colleagues will tell you teaching from home is easy and that we want to do it forever. My request is that you let the decision to risk our lives be our decision. If teachers would like to return to work with their students, allow them to do so. However, I would like to have the right to stand with my union colleagues and say no. I would like my life to mean as much as theirs, to choose and not be told I must go back. A million voices are experts, and every opinion matters. Please let my opinion matter. Let me choose to return or not. My voice may be little, but I deserve to be heard. Thank you.
Catherine Silvera.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to commend the proposed policy revision of the dress code. By changing this code, you are becoming more inclusive and moving the district forward. I'm excited to see the similar policies in the future with this. Now, as a parent, I've been involved in the classroom since my first was in kinder. Now I'm in the virtual classroom with both my boys, volunteering when and how I can. 4 days a week, I'm in my second graders class. I assist with small groups, technology issues, guide transitions, and just being there for the teacher. I have seen our teachers put our students before themselves, working beyond their contract hours, wondering if their lesson will work digitally, calling guardians for updates. I have been there for their successes, and I have been there for their tears. They are putting everything they have into this, only to face attacks about their work ethic, all for advocating for two things: their safety and their student safety. Safety not only in health, but for their well-being. I am sure all of you have read the multitude of letters that address these issues, including removing staff and students from their school or forcing students to be placed with strangers, forcing children to condense the learn without a recess or prep, and note, because of the need for equal access and for lessons and assignments, these students in the class will still be on their computer for 4 hours doing the same lessons as the independent cohort. Now, this independent study, especially in grammar school, will put our children further behind educationally. Now, I guess we do have the time to address these issues so they don't exist in the future when we can't open. There's no one magic plan. What we do need to do is keep politics out and include the input of the stakeholders, teachers and students. We can start by not removing anybody from their affiliated school and keep the daily scheduling and the placement of student teachers at the school level. The school knows how their teachers and staff will thrive. This doesn't even address the bare minimum protocols being put in place for their health. The children of our community deserve more than just the bare minimum. We can use New York as an example. Their school openings have not led to super spreading events. That's because they went above and beyond the basics with prevention, screening, and even testing their students, and they still get recess and lunch. Those of us who are vocal against this plan, we do not want to keep everything closed, as a trustee mentioned last meeting. We are not brainwashed by the media into a scared state, mentioned by another trustee. In fact, when asked, most of us need and want the schools open. But the proposed plan, as it stood, it made matters worse for the teachers, parents, and students. It's a no-win situation. Additionally, I ask, you are not a trustee of a political party. You are not a representative of yourself. You are a trustee of the Board of Education, which means you represent the teachers and the students. I hope that your future decisions, it will reflect this. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Ryan.
Hi, good evening. So I'm here again, and I'm going to reinstate or state again what I've said at all the board meetings I've come to. Students first. Students first. Everybody else talking is not talking about students first. We are here about the students. You guys have to make the tough decision. And we needed you to make it 2 weeks ago, okay? I've gone and gotten tested quite a bit. Obviously I'm negative, but it was the metrics happened today because not enough people tested. We all know that. I mean, if you read it, that's what happened. It's not that more people have it. Probably it's the exact opposite. More people are healthy. That's why we're not testing. You don't go get a medical test unless you actually feel sick. So you have to find it, you have to go there. There's quite a bit involved, but I've gone 3 times. My son, who was sitting out here watching the board meeting with me, he went. He's a 3-sport varsity athlete. This is a senior. He's 6'8". He would like to play his senior year. And you guys didn't make the tough decision. You're letting a teachers union make decisions that isn't speaking for all of us. And I've said that. I've offered to meet with the school board. I've offered to meet with individuals. I've offered to meet with the teachers union. Nobody's taken me up on it. I'm willing to be vocal about it because so many people are scared. I'm getting a lot of hits on me from people within our district because I'm speaking for students first. I am. A lot of people are applauding me, but they're too scared to come say it, especially teachers. Teachers, I mean, if I'm a 30-year teacher, and I will back the teacher that's 27 years, and if she can't come back, then she shouldn't come back. We will cover your back, but I've taught for 30 years, and I'm in the classroom every day, teaching from my school, and if the kids come back, I will be there with them. But are we gonna move forward? Like, what about these seniors? Should I be looking to put my son in another school out of state? He wants to play football, basketball, and doubles tennis. He has volunteered at the food bank since March. He was ball kid of the one of 10 ball kids of the year out of 450 for 3 years in a row. I mean, you have a good kid. You have lots of good kids. They are leaving. They are going to private schools. They want to be heard. The students want to be heard. And I can promise you at this next meeting, I'm going to have every athlete out here, every parent out here. I'm tired of this. You guys, a few of you, if you don't want to come on campus, don't come on campus, okay? We get it, and we understand that. But you know what? It's about the students, and they feel safe, and they have a choice. Sports is optional. They don't have to play. It's not like school that's compulsory. It's an option. Please give us that option. I am like so angry, and I'm angry that my voice isn't heard, and I have tried so many times to be the vocal person to meet with the teachers union. You guys, they're not speaking for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tomek, that's all? Yes.
Do you want to do the first 10 minutes, Carol, or I'll let you finish up the last 10?
I'll start with these 4. This is from Amanda. The county numbers are contradictory. As we look across the adjustments for tier placement, Riverside County has the highest adjustment while others in the same factors are falling back into less restrictions. The larger conglomerate districts are weighing us down with high positivity rates that do not reflect across the board, and our children are suffering for it. If we don't make decisions based on our own city circumstances, the repercussions of our children's mental health and education will be suffering for years to come. Please consider waiving the whole district. Thank you for your time. This is from Nicole Casares. My comment is that I would love to see high school sports open back up, even if it's just for practice in small groups following safety protocols, especially outdoor sports. This makes it easy to keep a safe distance. For many of the kids in the valley, this is the best avenue to keep them busy and out of trouble, my son being one of them. Thanks. This is from Laura Kramer. Dear board members and Mr. Bailey, once again, I write to beg those who hold my health and safety and possibly my life in their hands to protect all students, families, and staff during this pandemic. While I applaud all the thought and preparation the district has put into preparing for in-person return, the fact is that most sites are not yet ready. Human beings do not always behave as expected or follow rules as directed, yet the plans are based on the assumption that our children will. There are still so many questions remaining unanswered. With a life or death outcome, the district needs to be able to answer the what ifs, but they can't yet. We want to return safely and be able to continue to operate our schools safely. More time needs to be spent to ensure that we can, and elementary principals should have the same amount of time to prepare their sites as middle, high principals have. Putting special ed and elementary staff, students, and families at greater risk by having them return weeks to months earlier than their middle school or high school peers is unacceptable. Weeks of extra exposure is not equitable, but also not what's best for our most fragile population. Though I know the district is receiving much pressure to service our youngest and neediest students in person, those students are also at high risk of contracting and or spreading the virus. Though our county may be currently in the red, Indio is a hot spot for COVID-19, and that's where the majority of our elementary schools are located. Our neighbor, CVUSD, just had an outbreak resulting in a death, and they don't even have students back yet. Even one death just from going to school is one death too many. Wearing masks on district property should be non-negotiable. Those who cannot or will not wear masks have options such as distance learning, homeschooling, etc. Staff on site will not have the option to avoid unmasked pre-K to second grade children and should not be put at risk. Airlines, businesses, and other school districts require masks for everyone, and we must too. The governor's guidelines are just that, guidelines, as he acknowledges that risk and requirements will need to vary by district and location. Let's see what happens as flu season hits. Businesses reopen and family holidays are celebrated before making a return date decision, while hoping for a January return. Let's give the district and site principals the time they need to really have sites ready to reopen and stay open safely. Put simply, let's rise above the pressure and do the right thing. Sincerely, Laura Kramer, registered nurse practitioner, special education teacher. This is from Maria Hoffman. Dear DSUSD Board, I have reached out previously with emails, public comment submissions, media interviews, and a protest to get the attention of yourselves and the public into the mindfulness that needs to be given to this school reopening plan. Today we entered back into the purple tier. Although I know this will delay schools reopening, I hope it will not delay our efforts to continue to make a successful plan for when it is safer to return to in-person instruction. I urge you to take into consideration simple measures that can be taken to make our schools safer, such as required temperature checks, masks on all students, and required COVID testing for all staff. In addition, please remain mindful that our students need and deserve to stay with their teachers as much as reasonably possible when we do have to shuffle classes, and every effort should be made to cause as little disruption to student and teacher relationships, given virtual or a hybrid model. Lastly, I would like you to explore avenues that allow students that do return to school the freedom of movement. 4 hours, one chair is asking too much of our children. What high-structured outdoor activities are possible on the daily to get our kids up and moving? I have offered my assistance in the past and will do so again today. I am here to partner with you to make the best plan we can for these children. I am a past educator and a mother of 2, ages 9 and 14. How can I help you? Be it a think tank, man hours, or establishing parent groups to generate resources. I am here to ask, how can I help? This is a beast of a problem, but we are stronger together, and as a community, thank you for your consideration in keeping our children safe. Rhea Hoffman, School Site Council President, Gerald Ford Elementary. Teresa Amadei. It appears the board is under a lot of stress to open schools and please parents who are demanding in-person instruction to resume right away. After 1 quarter of online instruction, I can say that my students are doing well. The pandemic has wreaked havoc on every aspect of our lives, but the connection between students and teachers has not changed. Yes, there are different ways to go about building that relationship, but it is happening. My students are attending class, participating, smiling, enjoying the activities they create to lift and lead the students at Desert Ridge. We have something special that is working. Leaving this robust student activity program to remain an online teacher with different students would be incredibly disruptive. Returning with even half of my students would not meet the 6-foot social distancing guideline and would put everyone in the room at risk. Could you imagine the devastation caused by a positive COVID test, an outbreak, or a death caused by a rushed decision to return to in-person school? I can. It just isn't worth the risk. The biggest cause for student anxiety is unnecessary change. We should allow students to remain with their teachers, remain with their schools, and remain in a distance learning model. This one is from Faustina Sevilla. Good evening to all present. I have to admit that I've lost hope that schools will reopen anytime soon. The current pandemic continues to be used as the excuse to keep forcing distance learning. Even though most of our children are struggling with the current module, and the worst part of it all being the negative effect that this has had on their mental well-being. Some teachers claim to be afraid of this virus, yet their actions contradict their words. To see posts on social media in which these fearful teachers are attending gatherings, among other things, is a slap in the face to say the least. The actions by these teachers seem to suggest that you can only contract this virus at school. We have unions advocating for the safety of teachers, and yet I've not seen anyone, besides parents, advocate for those that are having such a hard time navigating this new learning module. Some teachers say that the unions are there to protect their jobs. In my humble opinion, work ethic is what should serve such protection. Teachers are keeping their jobs when the only thing that qualifies them to hold such a position is their degree. Some should have no part in the education of our children, as some were failing even pre-pandemic. No one should have to beg for the opportunity to get what is within their right in regards to education. This group should be ashamed for claiming that no child should be left behind and being part of doing just that. Who really has control of reopening our schools? It's time to put an end to the union demands and prove to the children and parents that their concerns are valued and taken into consideration with actions, not words. It has been made clear that it is not due to fear that our schools are not reopening. There is an agenda which has nothing to do with COVID, which keeps getting on the way. Do the right thing now and vote on allowing our schools to be reopened. As a concerned parent, I've had enough. This is from Emily Bristow. Dear board members, thank you for taking the time to think about the proposed plan for school reopening. I encourage you to vote no on the current plan, as I feel there are many things that can cause some changes. As a mom and teacher in this district, I hope we are able to come up with a better plan for a return to the classroom. The beginning of distance learning was rough on everyone, but I feel as though we have now hit a groove in the learning process. Parents have been able to figure out childcare and learning environments for their children, and it seems that the new plan for hybrid return would disrupt that. Parents will be required to leave their jobs in the middle of the day to get their children, and then be home with them for the rest of the day. I currently am able to teach all kids in my class every day. With the proposed plan, I would only be teaching the kids 3 days a week. Having them work independently in third grade is tricky, as they still need heavy instruction on a topic before they can do the independent work. There is no way I would be able to teach the same content to the kids at home for an hour in the afternoon, as I taught the kids in school for 4 hours that morning. I also feel like having young kids sitting for 4 hours in their desk with no breaks is also going to be a struggle. Kids need frequent breaks to have time to absorb the learning they just did. I don't even know of adults who can sit for 4 hours in one place with no breaks. I appreciate the time and thought that has gone into voting on this plan. I want to be back in the classroom, but I feel like our innovative district can come up with a better plan to meet the needs and safety of all stakeholders. Again, I encourage you to vote no on the current plan and ask for a revised plan to be submitted after involving all stakeholders in the planning. Thank you. This is from Floydell Wilson. Please do not gamble on our lives through reopening school sites by returning students, teachers, and staff. Books, desks, computers can all be replaced, but a person's life cannot.
Thank you very much. First one is from Brandon Ronsley. As someone who has had to deal with online schooling, I strongly believe we need to be fully back into school. I feel online school is affecting our grades strongly. It is pretty hard to learn subjects such as art or Spanish through a screen with no human interaction. Not just mine, but friends who are usually straight A students, grades have been suffering greatly. Also, the fact that there are many schools already open for kids to go to school and we are not, I find that a little odd, and how my family can go see a movie or my mom and sister can go get their nails done, yet we're treating our school like a radioactive zone. On a non-academic level, having no social interaction with anyone except your family, it can get to you. I have a friend from Yucca whose friend killed themselves because of depression from problems caused by quarantine. My 5-year-old sister is expected to learn how to read all on her own with 3 15-minute Zooms throughout the day. It is pretty hard to, let alone in the classroom with a real teacher, to teach a kid how to read, but in these conditions, it's 100 times harder. Now on the sports topic, it's pretty hard to do weight training while not in school, considering most kids don't have weight sets at home or any workout equipment for that matter. All in all, we need to be put back into school fully. If we have to wear a mask the whole time, so be it. And if there's kids or parents who are worried about safety, they can deal with online school if that's what they really want. Long story short, the 99% of families who want to, no need to come back to school, should have that opportunity. Veronica Rubio. How will my children continue with their IB programs, honor placements, and AVID electives in distance learning? Your original plan for distance learning was to keep children in their home school. Now the plan sends a distance learning in a group all on their own. This concerns me a great deal because my children have health concerns that are going to keep them in distance learning, and your plan is going to keep them from getting a proper education. How will my high schooler keep her A through G requirements in your plan? It wasn't rocket science to go to the same path as Washington Charter. Your plan is not well thought out and will negatively affect all children whether they choose to stay in distance learning or go hybrid. Gabriela Picardo. Dear community, I am a teacher. I studied many years to get 2 degrees and multiple certificates so I could teach our children how to read and write. That's what I signed on to do. Then you asked me to be a parent and teach them character, ethics, and morals, and I did. Then you asked me to be a social worker and teach them about suicide, online learning, online safety, bullying, to watch for signs of physical, mental, and sexual abuse, and I did. Then you asked me to be a police officer and taught me how to identify gang behavior and taught me how to keep students safe in an active shooter situation, up to and including using myself as a human shield if necessary, and I did. Now you're asking me to be a healthcare worker and to wear a mask, face shield, and gloves, and you give me a bottle of hand sanitizer so that I can teach our children in the midst of a pandemic because parents can't provide daycare, are tired of having kids at home, feel socialization with friends is more important than safety, or simply really don't care. What will you expect of teachers next, and when will the ask be too much? When teachers express concern over, heaven forbid, their own safety and the safety of their families, we are told to adapt, to retire, or to quit. We're in this together, you say. Are we? A quote from Molly Shepard. From Carol Bailey. This global pandemic unfortunately takes precedence over all our lives. The safety of our students and staff are the utmost importance. This requires that this board take immediate action to keep our schools safe and not reopen until an effective vaccine is in place. Any other decision puts the students and staff in what could be a deadly situation and leaves our district open to huge liabilities and lawsuits should anyone lose their life due to the decisions you make. I want all of us to be back in schools together again like everyone else. I miss my students, families, and colleagues, but I want them to come back safely. Please keep this in mind as you make your decisions. I thank you for your service to our community, or to our school community, and I know you have the caring hearts to make the right decisions. Thank you. Pam LaPointe. Why are staff in the main offices of school buildings allowed to take off their masks? Even during distance learning, community members and other staff members need access to the office. There are signs up saying you must wear a mask to enter, yet some staff do not wear masks. As a teacher, I must walk into the office for various reasons, such as accessing supplies and student records. I have to walk within 3 feet of these staff members who are in the office maskless. Please address this issue now before we return to hybrid learning. Thank you. Christine Darrier. Dear school members, let me first say that I have the utmost respect for this arduous task that you have been dealt. We are all facing difficult decisions that should not be taken lightly. My biggest concern, upon what I heard during the last meeting, was that it seemed a lot of the point was missed. I can only speak for myself, and not on the behalf of the many hundreds of other parents when I say that I want my daughter to go back to school. That being said, the regulations that you have set are not enough. Going back is not the issue for us. Going back with the decisions you are trying to pass are. It is unacceptable not to require temperature checks. Likewise, it is unacceptable not to require mask wearing for TK through second grade. From what I understand, this is a statewide mandate declared by the governor. Not a suggestion, but a requirement that children above age 3 wear a mask. These were my biggest qualms. I believe there is a better solution, and I trust you will come to it. Thank you for your time and energy. I do hope that further conversation can be met with compassion and heart. Thank you. Michelle Van Halem. Dear board members, please reconsider opening all in-person classes as the case numbers continue to climb. It is not safe for staff or students to return to in-person learning on any level. It is not worth sacrificing anyone's health or life. Please open your hearts and minds and show you really do care about our community, and let's keep up the great work of teaching our beloved students online. Thank you. Paul O'Kane. It is time to end distance learning. It simply does not work. My son's grades have fallen significantly since last year. He is not getting a free and appropriate public education. This is a violation of his rights. I work in the healthcare sector. I provide cardiology, diagnostic imaging systems. We are all at work with masks on and social distancing. The world cannot just stop. This is the new normal, and this will be with us for many months. It's time to return kids to school safely. If they can go to the movie theaters, they can go to school. This should not be about teachers' contract and teachers' unions. They are not the primary reason that you serve in this role. Your responsibility is to the children in this community, and you are failing to meet their needs. Open schools now. Dana Stenzel. My children need to be physically present in school. My honor student and my special ed student are suffering equally for similar and different reasons. Both are dealing with an inability to focus on Zoom for that many hours in a day. Neither is able to take a break from school because they cannot get the physical distance from their workspace. It's depressing. Both have gained weight from inactivity. They used to ride bikes to and from school daily for cardio exercise. The teachers are overcompensating for the lack of in-class instruction and have increased the workload. It's untenable. My students must go back to school immediately. We cannot wait until January. This is ridiculous. Carlos Garcia. My wife works at one of the high schools, and she goes in maybe 1 or 2 days a week to get work together and has to put up her custodian service sign each time, and her room still isn't cleaned, and the sign is completely ignored. The bathroom isn't cleaned, doors aren't cleaned, and if they can't clean when the students aren't there, what makes you think they'll clean them when they return? Leslie Cantor. Please see your emails from myself yesterday that I sent you regarding the opening our schools. That being said, I will make this short and sweet. Given the new circumstances, we have been put back in the purple tier. One, if we had opened when we were able to, would we not be closing schools? Number two, it is my understanding that we will be stuck here until November 10th. Then we have a 2-week window, so I expect we will have everything in order to immediately open the schools. We don't want to set back again. Our children are depending on you to get them back in the classroom. We all know this is political, as having only 150 in the hospitals with a COVID-related out of 3 million in our country. That is minimal. It'll be after the election, so we'll go back to the red tier. Please address what you are doing to get us prepared so we can open when we are given a green light. We don't need to fall back in this situation again. Michelle Williams. I have a son at Palm Desert High School who is a junior. He is 17. He is being seriously affected by the lockdown of his high school. Does the board understand athletes are being denied a year of eligibility for college sports? It is starting to take a mental toll on him. Yesterday, he was in front of his computer for over 12 hours. It is heartbreaking to see the breakdowns from him that have been happening on a regular basis. The kids need to be in the classroom, resume our athletics, open our schools. The China virus is more understood now. Those that are the most vulnerable or afraid have the choice to stay home. Let those who are not vulnerable get back to life. This lockdown has become a political ploy, and many of us can see right through it. Save our children's mental health, save their desires to end college and play sports. I understand that we may be back in the purple zone again, closing down businesses once again, and I certainly hope that when we return to the red, you are prepared to open the schools. If not, you are responsible for ruining our children's lives. And that concludes public comments. And with that, we will move into board and superintendent comments, beginning with Ms. Conover.
A lot of information there. Again, I want to thank everybody for their input. I do want to congratulate Sergio on a job well done. I wore my Raja mask in honor of that. You did a wonderful job. And it is good to see how, even though it is done virtually, Indio High School has been able to welcome their students back. You guys, that was, I'm assuming that was a lot of work, a lot of man hours in that video. Thank you. I have just a question to Mr. Aquino. Mr. Aquino, you mentioned the ionizers, that they have been purchased. Have they been delivered?
They have not been purchased. We are right now doing an inventory of all HVAC sizes, because depending on the size of the HVAC unit on the building will require a different size or a number that we would have to place on the unit in order for the ionizer to be effective. And we are reconciling that, and we'll have that information by this Friday when I meet with my team, and we'll be placing an order subsequent to that.
Okay. And I'm glad to see that we'll be mandating masks from TK or pre-K all the way? Pre-K. Pre-K all the way to 12th grade. And that's all. Thank you.
Sergio, any comments for tonight for our student board member?
I just wanted to say I still stand in the same position as before, but I really appreciate mandating the masks. And I just wrote something like really quick, but for the safety of our students and staff, going back to school will leave our lives at risk. Schools have not been reopened yet. We are still in purple. Opening schools will only increase cases no matter how many restrictions we apply. The safest option is to continue distance learning. But I do appreciate the board for giving us the compromise, the choice, and the ability to keep our teachers in the proposed plan. But I hope the teachers get this choice as well, because their lives are also at risk. And this is a bit personal, but my dad is a teacher at Cesar Chavez Elementary School in Coachella, and I've seen how difficult it is to teach online, but he's doing an amazing job, and I hope he gets to choose the way he wants to teach. Because if he doesn't, then my life would still be at risk no matter if I choose hybrid or not. And I just want to add that I'm also a senior this year. This is my 4th year in marching band, 4th year in ASB, 2nd year in track, 2nd year in theater. I want to march, I want to race, I want to lead my ASB meetings in person, I want to perform on that stage, and I want to return to school too, but we shouldn't act impatiently. I still believe we need to wait until it's completely safe, but I appreciate everyone working so hard. Thank you.
Mrs. Jonathan.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Kelly Mae Vollmer, Dr. Kelly Mae Vollmer, and Ann Morales for their awards that they received. I'm so proud of both of you, and you guys are doing an incredible job as all of our employees. I also wanted to give a shout out to Kristen Hill because I was a BITSA mentor and she was my mentee. So it's wonderful to hear that she was recognized as well. Thank you, Sergio. It's great seeing, well, kind of seeing you, because if I'm going to be honest, all I see is the little dots on my screen, so it's really hard to see any person on the dais. And I see Ms. Boris laughing because that's kind of what we see. But I'm so glad that you're there and you have made your school proud. That was a great presentation that you did for us. And this virus has made us look at things differently. And I've mentioned that in the past. Things are never going to be the same. Some of those things are really wonderful. For example, all those years that I taught and I heard the nurses saying you should wash your hands to my students, now finally maybe they will actually be washing their hands. And understanding that, guess what, most diseases, most viruses are transmitted by hand, not by breath. Not to say that that's not happening with COVID, but statistically, most viruses and bacterial and viruses are transmitted by the hands. As far as water bottles, fillers on campuses, I don't know how many times I've wanted to see water bottle fillers on campus. We're going to be finally having these. We're also learning how to work with this distance learning and using technology in a different way to teach. And this will be used in the future. It's not something that we're immediately going to put aside and not do again. The filtration systems that we're going to be having in our schools, the sinks, whether they be just to use for sanitizing, and they're using the sanitizer in them that we have in classrooms that weren't having them before. Again, that's something that I think we should have had, so I'm glad that now we're having these. So I really think that there's some positives about this. And I think that ultimately, if you see any schools or regions going down, one, it's because of the numbers, because we are required to show that there have been so many tests taken and so many have been positive and so many have been negative, and that affects us. And that's one of the reasons we are in purple. And I always tell people, wear your mask. I mean, honestly, it's not that hard. I don't like it as much as everybody else, but just wear the mask. And I think that that would help us a lot, but also get yourself tested. I do know that in other regions that they are having it. I have started school. And they have found that they aren't a super spreader, like there was this fear. There's a school, I believe it's Santee Unified School District, has opened up their school. They have 839 staff. One has come down with coronavirus. They have 5,672 students, and one student has come down with coronavirus. I'm not saying that that's typical, but I'm saying it's not the fear that we're hearing. I think that it's a valid fear, but we also need to take precautions. And the biggest precaution we can take is wearing the mask. We're never going to get out of, we're going to keep on going back to purple if we're not testing and we're not wearing the mask. Finally, I also want to say that I think that we all need to take a step back and realize that this is out of our hands right now. We've gone into purple. We're now looking at 3 more weeks before we can even leave purple. So any decision that we'll make won't be in the near future with regards to some of the hybrid models that we've talked about. But I'd hope, again, if there's one message I'm going to say, last time we met, I said, please be compassionate to other people. I'm going to ask that you wear your mask. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Patricia Ryan. I don't know if she's there, but I actually visited her classroom this morning. She did a phenomenal job, and she is a great teacher. She was my older son's teacher at Palm Desert Charter Middle School when it wasn't charter school. So I do want to give a shout out. She's a great educator, and thank you very much for inviting me to your classroom. I appreciate it. I always like coming in and watching what everyone's doing with this distance learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jonathan. Mr. Griffith.
Yes, I think everybody on the board hears the passion and the statements made by people on both sides of this argument. And we want to be receptive to those people that do have legitimate concerns about going in to the classroom, whether they be teachers, parents, or students. I do think we're failing a portion of our students and teachers when we don't recognize that there is a group of people that want to go back to the classroom, and they understand the ramifications of that, and for some reason we're prevented from allowing them to do what they want. And so that frustration from them it weighs on me. But until we get agreements from the people that are in charge, we're going to be stuck where we're at. But I do believe that we could come up with some innovative ideas to find the people that want to teach in person, find the students that want to learn in person, and we should be doing our best to facilitate putting those two groups together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. President Porras.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tomac. I too would like to congratulate Kelly and Ann Morales for Principal of the Year. That's so awesome. And I also want to say on that note for Principals Month that we have amazing principals and they are doing a phenomenal job over and above what we could even hope for. So I really do appreciate all the principals and what they do on a daily basis. I'd also like to, let's see. Sergio, that was an awesome video. I loved that. I'm a Raja. I graduated in 75 best alive. I always have to say that. And anyway, it was awesome to see Mr. Lawson do his dance. You know, he was the mascot for his class. And so you're still rocking it, Derek. And anyway, I attended one of the WASC meetings with Mr. Bailey, and that was really interesting to hear how they do that. And anyway, but I also want to say on a sad note with the coronavirus, and we all know how serious it is, and I've lost several friends to the virus, as I know several other people have. But I just want to recognize Mary Lou Magana. She was one of our guest teachers at Indio High School. And she was a wonderful person and loved her students and loved what she did. And we just lost her this last week to the coronavirus. So I just she's somebody, I've known her for a long time. Her sister, Amelia Calderon, is a really good friend of mine. So I just want to give prayers to the family and acknowledge her. And that is all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Porras. And I'll conclude with a few comments here that I've had. It's been about almost the end of 21 years of serving on the board. And it's been a great opportunity to be the voice for many parents, many students, many teachers, including librarians and bus drivers for principals across the district, because it's very difficult to raise your complaint without being worried about your career down the road. And I acknowledge that, and for those folks that have spoken with me, whether I walk into a classroom or walk into a principal's office, they know that what I hear there does not go back to the superintendent with a name attached to it. And that's always been the case for 21 years, which has always allowed me to know so much is going inside of what's going on in the classrooms, the music halls, the academic fields, the whole variety of things. And especially for teachers, there's been a lot of inequities I've seen across the years too. And for those times where I think that maybe we could have some other incentives built into the programs for teachers that actually do so much more work than maybe some others. And I think they should be rewarded for that. But I want to finish up with a letter because so many teachers I've been getting emails from want to speak out, but don't want to be identified by the union. And I just want to read one letter and use my time here tonight for one of the letters, which is representative of both parents and teachers, because it's combined in this letter. And this is my only comments for tonight will be this one that I'll read anonymously, as I always do. So first of all, I want to say thank you for trying to have a plan to get our children back to school in November. I am writing today because my voice has fallen on deaf ears with the union. I was told by Trina that the union represents the majority. However, I don't see that across the district that the teachers actually have a majority. Teachers are split across not wanting to come back at all, a 0, which I will say did have the most teachers, but that does not make a majority, and a 10, fully ready to return. I have emailed Trina numerous times and was basically brushed away saying I should attend the union town hall meeting. Well, with 2 young girls, lesson planning, lesson video making, assigning homework for the next week, I did not have the time to do this. I am just disappointed with the union because any teacher worth their salt would want to do what's best for our students, and for the many of them, it is not digital learning. Every day is a struggle to get not only my students to understand the material I am teaching them, but to also get my own children to learn second and kindergarten standards. Don't get me wrong, their teachers are amazing, and they are doing their best they can. At least I am able to help my children knowing the curriculum, but we have so many parents out there, they work or they just flat out don't understand what their child is learning, and I know my own children are already falling behind and they are getting a lot of support. Please, if at all possible, do not let the union stand in the way of our children's education. If I am the only teacher you've heard from, then you can just chalk it up to me being a frustrated mom and teacher. But if I'm not the only one, please understand that the union is not supporting all its members, and there are those who would like a return to the classroom. Thank you so very much for your time. And that concludes my remarks. Mr. Bailey?
Just a simple comment. I appreciate everyone's input. As you can see, there are many varied but passionate opinions about the next steps to getting students back in face-to-face instruction. And that passion, in my opinion, comes from the fact that we want what is best for students. That's what's driving it. Even though they're varied, that's what's driving it. And I just hope we can center ourselves on what's best for kids as we take the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. We can move on to general functions, business services, 18.1 and 18.2. We can take these together or individually as my colleagues so desire.
I move we take 18.1 and 18.2 as a group. My voice is going.
By Ms. Conover, is there a second?
I second that.
By our student board member, Sergio. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Aye. Thank you. 19.1, there's only, in fact, general functions, educational services, there's only one item, and I will read that one. Approve of piggyback purchases through National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, contract number 01-76 to Catch On Inc. to deliver real-time data on application and operating system usage on student devices during the 2020 to 2021 school year in a total amount not to exceed $88,183.33 to be paid from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act Fund. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
By Ms. Conover. Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
Oh, too late, Don. So, second by our student board member, Sergio. Thank you. Call for the question. Preferential, any discussion? Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 20, General Function Personnel Services. There are 10 items, 20.1 through 20.10. Is there a motion for any one of those or all together?
I move we take general functions item 20.1 through 20.10 as a group.
Thank you, Ms. Conover. Is there a second?
I'll second, Wendy Jonathan.
Second by Ms. Jonathan. Any discussion on any one of the items? Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote.
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 21, there is only one item on student support services. And this is a second reading in the adoption of a revised board policy and administrative regulation 5141.52, students in suicide prevention. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
By Ms. Conover.
Conover.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by our student board member Sergio. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Preferential vote.
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item number 22, General Functions Superintendent. Mr. Bailey.
Yes, I just want to remind the board that on motion, this item was tabled, most recent board meeting, so it's being brought back as a general function item under superintendent for the board's consideration this evening. However, we know a lot of things have changed, hence the notification of purple status today for the county. The original timeline, as you may recall, indicated we wanted consideration to bring back the small groups in need of acute care. And we wanted to open up athletic conditioning under public health guidelines. The original date was October 19th. The second piece of the timeline that was proposed originally would be the potential return of elementary students in a hybrid model as soon as November 9th. And then lastly, in the original proposal was middle and high school return to hybrid, potentially beginning as early as January 4. So that's where we left off. And again, many things have changed. We continue to negotiate. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the board for consideration of the timeline.
And I'd like to make a motion to modify the current timeline for the return to in-person hybrid learning opportunities, subject to public health guidelines as follows. 1, a start date for athletic conditioning effective immediately on a voluntary basis. 2, a start date for small group services on a voluntary basis for students with acute needs beginning November 9th, 2020. And 3, an anticipated start date of January 19th, 2021 for elementary, middle, and high school schools subject to prevailing public health guidance at that time. And I'd like to request a planning update from staff in December of 2020.
Second.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Call for the question. Preferential vote.
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 1 no. Motion carries 5-1. Items number 23. Items number 23, consent items, student matters, there are none. Number 24 is consent items, business services. There are 8 items, 24.1 through 24.8. Is there a motion for any or all of these to be approved?
I move we take consent items 24.1 through 24.8 as a group.
Thank you, Ms. Conover. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by, oh, you can go ahead, Sergio, you've got it.
It's seconded by Sergio, our student board member. Any discussion on any one of those items? Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, there are 3 items and consent items on educational services. We can take these individually or as a group.
I move that we take consent items 25.1 to 25.3 as a group.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by preferential board member, or student board member, Sergio. Any discussion on any one of those items? Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote.
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Consent items, personnel services, there are none. And consent items, student support services. We have 6 items, 27.1 through 27.6. Is there a motion to approve any or all of these items?
I move we take consent items 27.1 through 27.6 as a group.
Thank you, Ms. Conover. Is there a second?
I second.
Too late. Too late when
Wendy
he thinks so.
Jonathan.
Second by Sergio. Any discussion on any
Oh.
of Hearing none, call for the question. Preferential vote?
Aye.
Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. Motion carries. Item number 28, consent items, superintendent. There are none. I'm sorry. 29, Dr. Salazar.
Yes, for
Thank you.
29.1, certificated personnel, agenda item number 2, personnel is pleased to recommend the appointment of Philip Gastelum to the position of school psychologist.
Are you there? With that addition, preferential vote, you cannot vote on this one since it's a personal item. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
By Ms. Conover, is there a second?
Second, Linda
Second.
Porras.
Second by Mrs. Jonathan. Any discussion?
No, it was Linda Porras.
Ms. Porras, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Ms. Porras.
I know, we sound so much alike.
Call for the question. I'm sorry, is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, call for the question. Board vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 30, personal action classified. Anything to add? Nope. Is there a motion to approve the classified items as listed in tonight's agenda?
So moved.
By Ms. Conover, is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Second by Ms. Porras, thank you. Any discussion on this item? I have one to add. Ms. Patricia Barbaza, our facilities administrative assistant, who's 18 years of service, is retiring. So I wish to say best wishes and a wonderful free time to enjoy her retirement. Congratulations making it to the finish line. With that, call for the question.
Congratulations.
Ms. Forrest, say again?
I just wanted to say congratulations to Patricia. She's an awesome person. I've known her for a lot of years, so I wish her well in her retirement.
Thank you very much. And with that, call for the question. Board vote, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Call out for closed session actions.
I have one item. It's a reference to 3.2 on closed session agenda. In closed session, the board took action to accept the resignation agreement for certificated employee teacher number 053330 under the terms of a settlement agreement. This motion came from Mrs. Conover. It was seconded by Mrs. Porras, and the motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Call out for suggestion for future agenda items that receive at least 3 votes. Anyone? Sergio? Oh, just a second. Sergio, anything you'd like to see come up? Like a, well, no, I won't bother. Ms. Conover. Well, we have someone, yes.
This isn't a request for future agendas. I was just wondering if we could get clarification about the no subs for paraeducators for special ed. If you can follow up and explain that to us, and and maybe we just need to get it clarified. And if that is the case, what brought us on? What was the decision for not having subs for paraeducators?
Ms. Jonathan, I think we can get Ms. Jonathan, we can get an explanation for that right now, I believe.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
We are using, right now we utilize many of our unassigned paraeducators. There are a lot of paraeducators that normally work as a one-on-one assistant to a student. And in the distance learning, those paraeducators aren't assigned to a student who's staying home. So when we have a paraeducator who's going to be absent, we fill in the absences with those unassigned paraeducators who are also sometimes working out of class, because they were authorized in our MOU to do different duties. So if and when we exhaust and have paired up all of those unassigned subs, then we would go into the sub pool. But there isn't a need to hire sub paraeducators when we have a number of unassigned ones currently.
Okay, that makes sense, and thank you for clarification. So I know that I've seen the paraeducators when I visited the classrooms from a distance point of view. So we are getting paraeducators, and they're just fulfilling that. They're just substitute paraeducators, not specific to a special ed, correct?
Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mrs. Jonathan?
Nope. Thank you so much.
Mr. Griffith?
Nope.
Ms. Conover?
I don't have anything.
President Porras?
I have nothing. Thank you.
And I have nothing at all. We have nothing to reconvene in closed session. And with that, any other announcements? Pause.
Thank you for not recommending an observatory.
With that,
This time.
It could have happened. With that, we will adjourn the meeting at 9:08. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you did good.